Everyone is searching for God, even if it doesn't seem like they are. Even those who don't want to find him, those who say that they hate him, those who say that they have rejected him, they are standing in the light, perhaps blinded by it, perhaps choosing to see darkness, but still in their heart of hearts seeking him. They need to be led by that light that God gives us, that light that led the three kings to Bethlehem to meet Jesus. We call today's solemnity the Epiphany, and that word means revelation, the revelation of Christ to the whole world, represented by these three kings who come from the east seeking the newborn king. We call them the Magi, and they're not magicians, but they are wise men in their day, men of science, wise in the ways of nature and reasonable as well. A star leads them to Jerusalem, but they are seeking the king to do him homage, the very king who set all the stars in motion, including the one that shone at his coming. It is in our nature to seek what is above, not just stars and signs and seasons, but God himself. And the three kings seek the Lord because it is perfectly reasonable in the world where we see all of these causes and effects, that one flows from the other, and to see that everything in the world is imbued with purpose, and that for all these causes, that there must be a first cause, a cause that brought everything about and set all of these other causes in motion and imbued the universe with purpose, brought about not just by a higher power, but the highest power. And that highest power is a personal God. How else could everything have a purpose? How else could there be creatures like us who have a personality other than from a God who is a person? So it's clear that their search is reasonable. And we forget that God himself is reasonable and that our search for him is natural. God reveals himself through our reason, through creation, and of course through the revelation of faith, because God wants to be known. He wants to be known in Jesus Christ. He wants us to know him the way that he knows us. He wants us to be loved even as we are loved by him. And think, what is reasonable? That we believe that the whole universe was created some 16 billion years ago in this big explosion that brought everything into being and set everything in motion? Or that we believe in a God who actually did it? Both of them are equally as reasonable. Yes, God himself is reasonable. Think of the Ten Commandments, the revelation of God's law to Moses. The first three are laws from God himself. I am the Lord your God. You shall not have strange gods before me. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember to keep the Lord's day holy. The first three commandments of the Ten Commandments coming from God, right? But the next seven, any of us who were reasonable people and actually cared about the good of a community that we might live in, we would come up with these on our own. No doubt about it. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not kill, commit adultery, not steal, not bear false witness against your neighbor, not covet your neighbor's wife or your neighbor's goods. All of those, I dare say we would all agree on if we got together and said, this is how we want to live as a community of good people who care about each other. And the golden rule, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Every religion has some teaching of this kind at its very essence, because it is part of us in the way that God made us. So it's clear that God is reasonable, and his commands are reasonable. We live by the light of reason and faith in the light of God who made both. The three kings represent all of the peoples of the world beyond the Jewish people. After all, God didn't want to save just his chosen people, but bring all people to faith through his chosen people. And so the evangelization of the whole world over all generations and all time, it begins with just these three wise men coming from afar to meet Christ. And the gifts that they bring him. Gold for a king, frankincense acknowledging that he is holy, and myrrh myrrh that is used to prepare the body of one who has died for burial. Myrrh is the strangest of all of these gifts. After all, Christ is just born. He is just a newborn baby. Why would they bring him this gift that is to prepare him for his death? It is certainly prophetic, foretelling that Jesus is born to die for us. And myrrh comes from the sap of a tree, the tree that has to be wounded in order for that sap to come forth so that the myrrh can be collected. And it isn't just scraping the bark of the tree. It is driving a spike or a nail into that tree to get to the heart of the tree so that the sap comes out. And the sap, once it dries, it becomes this myrrh. And so we see the cross of Christ, even in this gift. Christ wounded and bleeding for us. Even this sign of this gift of myrrh is a sign of the death that Christ would endure for us. We're still celebrating Christmas now. Although I know the sign of the times of the new year is that we see Christmas trees on the curb, just laying there flat, kind of drying and falling apart, and a pathetic little piece of tinsel, hanging here and there, waiting for the garbage men to come and pick them up. And for the rest of the world, Christmas is forgotten as they return to work and school and face the challenges of a new year. But we come to the Lord, still celebrating his birth at Christmas. We come like the three kings, seeking the light of Christ with our powers of reason and faith, with the life of our soul, and living in the light of Christ himself. And what gifts do we have to bring? What gifts do we have to bring him and offer him today? Is it our gold? Is it our grateful offering for the support of the work of the church? But not just gold, our time, we say, and it is true, time is money. Time is more valuable to us than just about anything else that we have. And it can be much more valuable to us than any amount of money when we can spend time with loved ones, when we can give of ourselves, when we can give of our time, for the sake of the church and the different ministries here, or time to anyone who might be in need. Time that we give and we show someone that we love them. Time to show that we want to help someone in need. I try as often as I can to give people the time that they need when they need God or they need someone to listen. I told myself and realized that soon after getting here, a lot of times people don't just want to talk to a priest when they come and call or they come to the door. They want to talk with Jesus. They want to talk with Jesus. And I try never to be without compassion and without generosity when someone comes needing the Lord or needing some prayer, some support. A priest in seminary told me one time, you'll never regret giving someone your time. If you are compassionate, then that is certainly time well spent. So we give the Lord what we treasure, what we truly treasure, our time, that precious, precious commodity that all of us, we have the same amount. All of us, it seems like we don't have enough, but we give time to the ones who we love. We give time to our God who we love. We could give him frankincense in a way, a sign always in Scripture that the incense are the prayers, our prayers rising before God's heavenly throne. Incense in the Scriptures is always shown that way, our prayers rising up to God. And we give him our prayer not only in the worship of Mass, but every day, even as we give him our time, that we give him our love, the love of our heart in this way. And myrrh, the symbol of us dying to ourselves, of us dying to our selfishness or our pride, dying to our expectations even, that we might make an offering of ourselves in love to Christ and to those around us. So these are the gifts that we bring, and not just today, not just for the Christmas season, but for our whole life, because the work of Christ is not yet complete, not in us and not in the church, and certainly not in the world. We've got to witness with our faith, our good works, our joy, and yes, our reason too. We have to be able to witness with our reason, because gone are the days when anybody can say, don't do that. God says that it's a sin, or you can't do that. It's evil to do that. And working with the youth here at the parish and in the parish school, CCD, in marriage preparation, I can't just tell somebody, no, it's a sin, don't do that. Everyone always wants to know why. And we have to be able to give an explanation as well, because that explanation is not only to show that God is reasonable, to show that what we believe makes sense. It is not some fable or some myth or some superstition, which is what the world would have us all believe, that the essence of our faith isn't something that is real. But that's not the case at all. When we can give a reasoned explanation for what it is that we believe, then we are giving witness to our hope in the Lord, our hope who has come for us, our hope in God who saves us. And we have to be prepared for that. As St. Peter says, always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope. The revelation of Christ born for us to save the whole world, it is the prophecy fulfilled in the first reading from Isaiah today. Your light has come. The glory of the Lord shines upon you. Then you shall be radiant at what you see. Your heart shall throb and overflow. For the riches of the sea shall be emptied out before you. The wealth of the nation shall be brought to you. And so that is the gift that Christ gives us, even as we come to give him our gifts. All that he is, all that he has, all of his life, all of his love. It is ours. It is ours. St. Paul says in the first letter to the Corinthians, you are Christ's, and Christ's is God. We belong to him, and he belongs to us. That is Epiphany. That is the revelation that through us will bring Christ's light to the world.